All right, so this is Silverball Retro Arcade over in New Jersey. This arcade is really close to the boardwalk. It's basically on the beach. So this was kind of a very interesting stop. This wasn't really something that I had planned on visiting while I was in the area, but it ended up just kind of working out. Kind of looking at the photos online, I didn't really expect a whole lot. I was a little, not too sure what to expect going into this place, but I left pleasantly surprised. This is a very good free play pinball arcade that I think everybody should visit if they are ever in the area. Something that's kind of nice about this particular location is they have a lot of other things to do. So if you're kind of the person who enjoys pinball, but everybody else in the group doesn't really enjoy pinball as much, there's lots of other things to look at and see out on the boardwalk. But obviously this is what I was the most interested in, and I wanted to get a video for the channel. This arcade primarily focused on older machines. There weren't really any modern Sterns at this location compared to some of the other arcades that I've documented on this channel. They definitely kind of set themselves up more as a museum rather than a standard arcade, which is cool. But what's even cooler is instead of it just being a, look, don't touch, you can actually play all of the games if you wish to do so. It is a free play arcade, so if you pay about $25 for admission, you can go in and out as many times as you want throughout the course of the day, which is always a plus. I personally prefer when arcades do this just because it's easier to get more games in. You can kind of learn the machine a bit better. If you don't play a lot of pinball, you might not understand what that means because, a scared stiff is a scared stiff, a Star Trek The Next Generation is a Star Trek The Next Generation, but even if you play between two different machines, the shots might not always be exactly where you remember them. So having the game set up in a free play environment is definitely a lot easier to get used to that particular machine and kind of get into adjustment, which is always very nice. Something else that was really cool about this place is kind of similar to what the Pinball Hall of Fame used to do back in the day. You can kind of see up at the top they have little note flash cards of a little bit of a history of the games that they have here. I didn't read all of them. In the video I try to get at least a shot of the text, so if you would like to pause the video and read any of these, I hope you can. There's a couple of them that may be illegible, I'm not too sure. I was in a little bit of a rush when recording this video, so I didn't have a ton of time to get close-up shots of every single little card on the machine, but it was still very cool nonetheless. I really like it when arcades do that, especially for people that maybe don't know a whole lot about pinball. You can kind of get more of a unique look into pinball's history. Same with the electromechanical games. I like how they kind of put a little rare game kind of note in the top left corner of these flashcards, just because I'm not very familiar with electromechanical games, and I know I've been to a lot of arcades that have really rare games that I just am not aware that they're rare because I just don't really know a whole lot about these older machines, so still really cool. This location had a lot of electromechanical versions of commonly found solid-state games, so like this right here, for example, the Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I know this is typically a solid-state game by Gottlieb. They did not make many of the electromechanical versions just because electromechanicals were pretty much on their way out at this point, so companies typically did one or the other. This was really cool. They had an Addams Family Gold edition on the floor, and if you don't know anything about this, this was a special collector's edition that they did to celebrate the success of the Addams Family becoming the highest selling pinball machine of all time. And they sent out about 1,000 of these little collector's edition ones to mostly private collections. It was kind of something that they did in an era where they didn't really market to the home, and this was kind of one of those rare examples. I've actually never seen one in person before, so it was really cool to see that. The art is on the side is a little different. They've got the gold plastics on the playfield. It's some extra software as well. Typically on location, you'll see Addams Families with that special collector's edition software just because it adds a couple of quality of life features and a few new things. So it was really cool to see one of those on location. I think I never really thought I would get to play one of those. So if you're ever interested in playing one, they have one here. I haven't really talked too much about the condition of these games, and if the video, doesn't really speak for itself, I can definitely say that this is worth going to. The technicians here do a very good job of keeping everything playable and in a nice, clean state, especially considering this is on the boardwalk where there is a lot of foot traffic and the games get heavy play, especially when games are on free play. Kind of cutting off real quick about that, I thought these were really cool. They had original old skee balls with like electromechanical score reels. I thought that was neat. I've never seen anything like that on a arcade floor before. But going back to the condition of the games, pretty much every single machine was in, I don't want to say pristine condition. There were definitely a couple of problems that I ran into, but everything was nice and clean, and the flippers were all strong. I didn't run into a single game where the flippers were too weak to hit a certain shot. Even games that have been getting played all day, I'll kind of talk about that later, but they have a Harry Potter Wizard Edition kind of towards the front of the arcade, and the flip, it had been getting played all day, and when I ended up playing my game, I ended up having a really good ball, just because the flippers were still nice and strong. So it's pretty cool to see. And they've even got a lot of the heavy hitters in different eras that you don't really see too often. Like seeing a Fathom on location is always really cool. Fathoms are usually pretty rare nowadays. They don't really you don't really see them on location too often, which is always cool. They always, they did that remake where, well, we all kind of know what happened with that. A couple of these machines in this row in particular, it had playfield swaps, or it had hard tops put on top of them. They were all in very good shape. But like I said, if you're looking to play any of the games with like side flippers or commonly beat up games, rest assured you're more than likely going to have a good time. One of the technicians was actually on the floor while I was recording this, and he was going around and looking for all the machines that had problems and was fixing them right there on the spot. And anytime he would open a game up, he would give it a quick wipe down just to make sure that everything was nice and clean. It was really cool. If you don't know about the kind of mid-90s games, kind of late 80s games, a little period will appear next to the credit amount, or if it's set to free play where it says free play, and that usually lets the technician know that there's a problem with the machine, whether it be a switch isn't registering or something ended up breaking. It's a good indicator for the tech to kind of say, hey, I should probably take a look at this without actually playing the game. This was cool. They had a bonsai run that actually played well. This was the first bonsai run that I was ever actually able to just play and not and make the right ramp. Something that I don't think I got a shot of, they actually had an original Pong cabinet here. I think I missed that, unfortunately. But they do have an original Pong cabinet. As you can kind of see, they have some random arcade games kind of sprinkled in here and there throughout the floor, because like I said, they kind of consider themselves more of a museum. It's really cool though to see these really old games for free play, like these wood rails. The only time I've ever seen wood rails for play or on location is at the VFW show in Michigan. They have a lot of these older games. They even have some of the original pinball machines with the first flippers on them, which was really cool. Not too much to talk about on each individual game. There were so many games here that I unfortunately did not have time to play every single game. I was kind of getting a close-up of this coin door because it's clearly a re-import. You can tell by the writing on the coin eject or reject buttons. So it's pretty cool. I personally think this is definitely an arcade worth visiting. Again, if you are ever in the area, definitely check it out. All of the games here were fantastic and were playing very, very well. There's a few more games towards the end that I would like to talk about, but I will wait for the video to get over to that section. This was also kind of neat. There was a lot of old electromechanical stuff here that I had never really seen before. This was actually pretty fun. It was kind of like a baseball simulator. Everything worked too, which was also really cool. You can kind of just pretend to play baseball with, and it's all done electromechanically, which I think is just super impressive. Doing that at all is always very mystifying to me. I think it's kind of crazy how they were able to do all of these things without circuit boards. It's very impressive. This was also really cool. They had a safe cracker. Not too many safe crackers left in existence. A lot of them either got destroyed or they're in private collections at this point. I don't think they had any the coins inside the game, which is understandable, but it was still really cool. You can see to the left of this machine, they had a Williams Defender. The only other time I've ever seen a Defender was at Galloping Ghost. You can actually see the technician here is working on it as I speak. I had a nice chat with him. He's a really nice guy. Was able to kind of tell me a little bit more about their process and how they do everything. I also found it kind of interesting how they spaced their games out. You can kind of see they put like an electromechanical game next to a newer machine or a Williams game or whatever it might be, which I think is actually a really good way to space your games out. It kind of allows people to play games that they may or may not have normally played. Usually arcades will put like all of their Jersey Jacks in one section, all of their Sterns, all of their electromechanicals, which is, you know, good for aesthetics, right? Because all of the machines and all of the cabinets kind of line up and it just makes everything look a lot better. But it might be a little worse for somebody who doesn't, you know, maybe plays pinball or doesn't play pinball a lot. It means the electromechanical games aren't really going to get played. Not a lot of people are going to walk over to a section where it's just all electromechanicals that, you know, if you're kind of glancing back and forth, all kind of look the same. It's kind of hard to tell them apart, especially compared to a modern machine. So I kind of like this approach. It allows people to experiment with games that they may or may not have tried otherwise. But you can see they have pretty much all the Jersey Jack games available for free play, which was really, really cool. This wedge head was kind of interesting, how it's all painted blue. I'm not sure if that is factory or if that was done by somebody later. It seemed like this location tried to keep everything as factory as they could. Not many mods on display here. Here's a nice Pirates of the Caribbean. I've documented a couple of these now, but it's always cool to see one on location just because they didn't make many of them and they're all really expensive right now. So anybody who's willing to put one on location is a true homie. Again, you don't see that very often. It's very cool. Like I said earlier, something that you might notice is the lack of modern machines. You know, they have these Jersey Jacks here, but they don't really have anything else. They had that one King Kong Pro Edition kind of back there, just kind of sitting in the corner. Was not online, in case you are wondering, but it played pretty decent. You know, it seemed like they had just gotten it. But they don't have any, you know, American pinball games, Barrels of Fun games, spooky games, none of that stuff. It just seems to all be focused mostly on the Bally Williams games, electromechanicals, some Gottliebs here and there kind of sprinkled throughout, and the Jersey Jack games. So that's pretty cool. It's kind of interesting to see, like, different arcades tend to gravitate towards a certain manufacturer, or they just kind of buy whatever is currently available. Definitely seems like they have a little bit more of a heart for Jersey Jack over here, probably because this is in New Jersey, but I'm not too sure. So pretty cool. But coming over here, up next is a Toy Story 4. Did not get a close-up of that because somebody was playing the game at the time. As you probably heard on some of the other videos that I've put on this channel, not my favorite game in the world, but whatever. This was really cool. They had an Atari Hercules, and to my knowledge, the only other one that I've ever seen is the one that shows up at Pinball Expo every year. I've never actually seen another one in the wild. This is, if you don't know, the largest commercially available pinball machine ever made. The pinball, quote-unquote, is actually a cue ball. That's how big the flippers and the ball lanes are. It was really cool to see one out on location. And see a different one to compare the differences between the two that I've seen so far. Very, very unique game that I don't think you can play anywhere else. Still really, really cool. Got a classic high speed here. Something that was awesome about that high speed, if you've ever played one on location, that side flipper, that right side flipper that, you know, is really important to start multi-ball. Super strong. You could hit those combos perfect. I've kind of had a bad... I kind of have a bad mindset towards that game just because everyone I ever find in public has always been really poorly maintained. There's a lot of issues with the flippers and stuff like that, so it was very nice to play the game as it was meant to be played. I kind of skim over a couple of these games over here because there's a few people playing them. I don't really touch on Demolition Man. Again, any game that I don't really get a close-up of, you can just kind of assume that it was playing really well and the game was clean, because that is really the important part, making sure that the game is clean and the flippers are strong. I think I get a close-up here of the magnet this time, as I forgot last time. You can see this area just gets destroyed from the magnet over the years. Next to this game is the good old Medieval Madness. As you can see, it had a tilt on it. There was a ball stuck underneath the troll as it was trying to go down, which was a bit unfortunate, but the techs were going around and they ended up fixing it after I finished this video. So the game was playable again. Something though that's really odd about the Attack from Mars machines and the Medieval Madness machines that I find in the wild a lot, the in lanes that transition from the lane to the flipper are often not adjusted very well, and there's a lot of ball hop when the ball transitions from that lane to the flipper, making a lot of the shots pretty difficult. It's not that they're impossible, but it makes the shooting and the coordination very weird. And that was the case with both of the the two big hitters that they had here, the Medieval Madness and the Attack from Mars. It was very awkward to hit some shots, but the flippers were so strong that it didn't really matter. This was cool. They had a limited edition 8-ball deluxe with a beautiful playfield. Usually you only see the originals on location, which was cool. They also had a Bally Fireball electromechanical. The electromechanical version isn't crazy rare, but I think this game is just fascinating based on what they were able to pack into an electromechanical game. This machine was pretty much the limits of what you could do with just solenoids and relays. Very, very cool game for the era. I know there's a solid state version of the game as well. Here's another interesting one. They have the electromechanical version of the Matahari game, typically a game you find as a solid state machine. So seeing the electromechanical version was really cool, and the playfield was so nice. I even had to get like a close-up. It almost looked like they put a hard top on it. I'm not too sure, but then I looked at the shooter lane and I was like, I don't know, it could be original, but it definitely looked like there was clear coat on it, and they did not put clear coat on those playfields at the time. So yeah, bit interesting. But I did also try to get a view of the regular arcade games they had here. I more than likely missed a few machines, kind of doing my rounds, just because there were a lot of people here and there was there were just a lot of games, and the layout of the location was a bit hard to hit in just one go. So again, if I missed a few machines, I do apologize. I tried to get as best coverage as I possibly could, but if you again were seeing anything that you might have wanted to see that I didn't get a close-up of, all the more reason to go out and go to this arcade. Again, you should always support the local kind of mom and pop arcades. It's becoming harder and harder for places like this to survive, just especially with how expensive these machines are to maintain and how expensive they are to purchase in general. So still really cool. Again, it makes it all the more impressive when you go to a location and you see the machines all in really good condition. Again, it's a bit of a nightmare just keeping just a couple of machines up and running, especially from the Bally Williams era, just because there's so many moving parts. They're all getting really old at this point. So seeing a location with all of these games that were working beautifully is just very impressive. Again, it should not be understated. If you ever go to an arcade and the pinball is all working really well, be sure to thank the technicians, because I'm sure they would appreciate it. There's a lot of hard work that goes into this stuff, and it often doesn't really get noticed. You only ever really notice when a game is broken, not when a game is playing really, really well. You can see I always try to get a little view of the decals on the Twilight Zones, just because I find them very interesting. They're either beautiful or they're all faded. This one was kind of half and half. You had a side that was pretty bad, the other side was all right. I got a close-up of this with this little wire form. Really interesting to see that on an electromechanical game. Didn't know that they had those. Pretty cool. We're starting to get to the end here. Got a couple more machines. They had a little row here of System 11 games, which was kind of cool. This is one of the few rows where they only just had one kind of machine from a specific era. Again, all of these were playing beautifully. The Whirlwind was playing really, really well. There's a fun house off to the side that was playing amazing. And Rudy actually worked 100%. It was really cool seeing a fun house that had Rudy's eyes working 100%. Pretty much every fun house I've found over the past like 3 years or so has not had a fully functioning Rudy head. So super cool to see. Those, even with replacement parts, the new modern replacement parts, they don't really hold up very well. So seeing one in public that gets played this much, still working, really, really impressive, really, really cool. You can also see like pretty much all of these playfields are pristine. I wouldn't say they're all flawless, but they're all in really good condition. And which again impresses me even more, I think, just how old these games are and how often they're getting played here, because this place was pretty busy. Having playfields from games this old that still look this good is also very impressive. A lot of people would, typically, want to put the crappier machine on the location just so it doesn't lose as much value, but it seems like this place was done genuinely just to allow people to enjoy games and really, really just enjoy the pinball experience, which is always good to see. Got a couple of games over here, got a couple of rare ones. They had an original Cactus Canyon, not a remake. They had an Attack from Mars. That was the one that I was kind of talking about with the weird ball hop. It was a bit odd, but again, still playable. They had an Avatar, a Captain Fantastic, an Elton John, all playing great. And then they had a Harry Potter Wizard Edition over here. Played great. The game is actually pretty cool. It's grown on me. I haven't had too much time to put into it, but the ball travel in that game is really cool. Here's another one, like an electromechanical version of a common solid-state game. I believe this is typically a solid-state machine. I didn't actually know they made electromechanical versions of that game, so pretty cool to see one of those. Again, I never really thought I would get to see anything like that on location. And then there's just a couple more machines over here, just a few kind of bits and pieces. This was cool though. They had a joust, a versus machine joust. Again, not many of these in existence. Only other one I've seen is that Galloping Ghost. But yeah, that is the Silverball Retro Arcade. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you can find some time to visit this place. Definitely worth the visit. Lots of really cool games here, lots of rare games, and lots of classics to enjoy if you are a fan of pinball. So always be sure to support your local arcades and tell your local tech that they are appreciated.